Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adrienne Tungate, Executive Vice President of Global Strategic Initiatives at World Business Chicago. I hope that those of you joining us from the US had a lovely Thanksgiving holiday, and I'd also like to welcome our international audience. Thank you for joining our last program of the year in our Discover Our Sister Cities series. For those of you who are new, Discover is a monthly series that showcases unique topics from Chicago's 29 international sister cities. And it's very fitting that our last program of the year is looking ahead to what Prague and the Czech Republic have planned for the future. The second half of 2022 will be an exciting time for the Czech Republic as they hold the presidency in the Council of the European Union. I'm thrilled that we have special guests joining us today to talk about what the presidency means for the Czech Republic. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Joseph Vosicki Jr., Chair of the Prague Committee of Chicago's Sister Cities International. At Sister Cities, our 600 volunteers are the driving force of our mission to connect Chicago with the rest of the world. And I'd like to thank the Prague Committee in Chicago for the work that you do to promote the relationship between Chicago and Prague, and for your work putting together today's program. In addition to creating connections between cultures, promoting peace and understanding between Chicago and the Czech Republic, you do so much on behalf of the people of Chicago. And it's a real pleasure and a real honor to work with you. Joe?
Adrienne, thank you very much. Prague is a city with 1,000 spires. It has elegant bridges over the Vltava River, just like Chicago. Prague is a cosmopolitan hub city, just like Chicago. A capital of music, art, and architecture, Prague is the only city with cubistic style buildings. And they say that there is music inside the heart of every Czech. Prague has Charles University, the oldest university in Central Europe. It is the first democratic nation established after World War I in 1918, based on the US Constitution. Its first president, Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, was a visiting professor of sociology at the University of Chicago in 1906. TGM, as he is known, or Taga M, is married to Charlotte Garrigue, an American in Brooklyn. One of their 4 children, Jan Masaryk, worked for the Crane Company in Chicago just before World War II. In 1989, after 40 years of communism, the Czech Republic returned to its democratic origins. In the second half of 2022, the Czech Republic will have the presidency of the European Union, after France and before Sweden. Our presenter today is Dr. Monika Bokšová, a diplomat and head of the Trade and Economics section. Dr. Bokšová holds a Bachelor of Arts and Master's degree in Political Science from VSE, Vysoká škola ekonomická, also known as University of Economics in Prague. She has another master's in Advanced International Studies from the Diplomatic Academy in Vienna, and a PhD in International Trade, also from VSE. Dr. Bokšová is well-traveled. She has previously worked in Indonesia, Kuwait, Argentina, Austria, and Germany. She has worked previously at the Czech Ministry of Industry and Trade, the Ministry of Justice, the Office of the Government, and also previously in Germany for the Federal Minister of Agriculture at both the ministry and the Bundestag in Berlin. Today, Dr. Monika Bokšová will explain what it means for the Czech Republic to hold the European Union presidency, beginning with the EU institutions and the Council of European Union. I am proud and pleased to give you Dr. Monika Bokšová.
Thank you very much, Joe, for your introduction. I hope it works well and you can see my presentation. Does it work?
It's working, yes.
Okay, thank you very much once again. So good afternoon, everybody. It's my great pleasure to share with you my insights into the European Union and Czech presidency in the Council of the European Union, which we are going to have in the second half of 2022. It's a big thing. It only happens once in a long time. It's one of the most important rights and also one of the most demanding tasks resulting from the EU membership. Prague is going to be center of the decision-making on EU policies for half of the year, and that obviously goes hand in hand with many cultural and political events taking place in Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic, and also the Chicago sister city. So we are all very excited about it. Today, I have divided my presentation into 3 parts. Right, so I have divided into 3 parts. After the brief introduction, I'm going to talk about EU institutions, and I'm going to focus on the Council of the European Union in more detail. And finally, I'm going to show and explain what the Czech presidency means for Prague and the Czech Republic, and we will discover it together as foreign delegates. I would like to begin with showing that the Czech Republic is located in Europe. It's located in Central Europe. It has a strategic position. It borders countries of Poland, Germany, Austria, and Slovakia, and it's easily accessible by plane from most of the European cities in less than 2 hours. So basically, today's presentation is a call from the heart of Europe to the heart of the United States. Right, so let's get started. Henry Kissinger once noted, "Who do I call when I want to speak to Europe?" And what he was trying to say, he was trying to highlight that the European Union is such a complex body and structure, and it's sometimes maybe difficult to understand. And he was partially right. Nevertheless, I truly hope that by the end of today's webinar, focusing on the Czech presidency in the Council of the European Union, it will be a little bit more clear. Let's begin by looking at the European Council. What you see right now, it's a family picture which was taken last month in Brussels. You can see Angela Merkel there on the red carpet. You can also see the French President Emmanuel Macron in front of her. So I'm trying to show you that those that gather in the European Council are heads of states and heads of governments, right? These are the people that come together. And what is the main aim of the European Council? Well, the main aim is to bring these top EU leaders together in order to set political priorities and political directions. However, this institution neither negotiates nor adopts any EU laws, right? And now, if you would like to have a look on how the decision-making process looks like and how the internal structure of the EU looks like, you would get something like this. You would get this kind of triangle where you have the 3 entities, the European Commission, the European Parliament, and the Council of the European Union. And these entities to some extent govern the EU mechanisms, procedures, and agendas. All these entities represent different interests that various stakeholders may have. So when we look at the European Commission, in that institution, the interests of the European integration as a whole, of the European integration itself, are represented. Then we have the European Parliament. In that institution, the interest of the European public and in general European people are represented, right? And by the way, European Parliament is the only directly elected body, so you can see the link with the people in there, right? And lastly, we have the Council of the European Union. And that's an institution where the interests of the member states are represented. And that's the institution which the presidency is connected with. The presidency in the Council of the European Union rotates every 6 months. And you can see here on the picture the seat in Brussels, that's Justus Lipsius building. You can also see the entrance hall, and it's always up to the presiding country to decorate that entrance hall. So I'm curious what we are going to have. And the presidency in general is responsible for driving forward the council work. And it's connected with several key tasks. One of the main tasks would be probably chairing the meetings of ministers in the council, and also chairing the meetings of different working groups where the civil servants of all the member states gather to discuss the EU legislation. This means that the presiding country is also responsible for the program for that half-a-year period, right? And one could ask, okay, and what makes a presidency the successful one, right? And interestingly, and this is counterintuitive to what I have said earlier, it's not about pushing your national interests forward, because that is what you can do all the time when you do not have the presidency. But what matters most when you have the presidency is to get things done, to push the work of the council forward. This means that you need to show the ability to find compromises and to act as an honest broker, so to say. So that is what really matters, and that's what makes the difference, right? And now let's have a look on the presidency of the Czech Republic in the Council in more detail. Back in 2019, it was decided that all the events that are going to take place in the Czech Republic during the presidency are going to take place in Prague. So the events are going to be centralized. But before we move farther, I would like to share with you some numbers with the presidency back from 2009, because we had already one presidency. This is going to be our second one. And now, I would like to share the numbers just to get a picture and just to get a perspective. So back in 2009, there were over 3,000 meetings taking place in Brussels, Prague, and also other locations. That means that on average, there were 25 meetings each workday, and there were 80 meetings taking place in Prague Congress Center, which I'm going to talk in a minute. During that presidency, 30,000 delegates visited the Czech Republic. Over 3,700 journalists were reporting on the events. And also during the presidency, thousands of ties, scarves, and pants were distributed as a promotional product. So you can see how huge it is and how difficult it is in terms of the logistic and all the organization. It's a lot of responsibility in there. And now I would like you to imagine for a while being a delegate who is going to attend a meeting in the Czech Republic. What happens is that you are going to land at the Václav Havel Airport in Prague. That is the biggest airport among the new EU member states. When I refer to the new EU member states, I refer to those countries that joined the EU in 2004 and later on. And the Czech Republic joined the EU in 2004, right? So this is the biggest airport among the new member states. And it handles over 17 million passengers annually. Obviously, this number is the pre-COVID number, right? It has direct flights to more than 170 destinations in the world. Unfortunately, we are still not having a direct flight to Chicago. There was one scheduled for March 2020, but obviously we all know what happened, you know, COVID. But I truly hope that the idea will be revived soon, because I would be the very first person who would truly enjoy having the direct flight. And at this point, I would like also to mention Václav Havel, because that's not an accident that the airport is holding his name. Václav Havel was our first democratically elected president after the fall of communism. And he was a leading political figure. And I'm even not afraid to say that he belonged to a most influential intellectuals in the 20th century. And in 2014, he became only the fourth non-American honored with a bust in a US Capitol. So if you really want to know some symbol of the Czech Republic, some symbolism there, I would always go for Václav Havel. All right, so we landed at the airport. What happens next? Well, we need to take you to other venues in Prague for the meetings, right? How are we going to do that? For that purposes, the company and the car which won the selection is Skoda Enyaq. And it's not an accident, because Czech Republic, it's a largely industrialized country. It's the second most industrialized country in Europe, in European Union. And we have a long tradition in car manufacturing, and Skoda is a very important brand. Its history traces back to 1895. And this car is a symbol of new era of the company, because it is the first mass-produced car which was developed from the ground as an electric vehicle. And this is the car which is going to pick up the delegates at the airport and will allow them to move around Prague. And by the way, the Czech Republic is also the second largest producer of cars in the world per capita, overtaking automotive giants such as Japan, United States, and Germany. So it's important for us. This sector is very important. Okay, so we already know how you're going to transport it, but the question is, where are you going? Where are you heading, right? The opening ceremony is going to take place in Rudolfinum. And Rudolfinum is an important architectural monument in Prague. It was opened in 1885. Today, it's the seat of Czech Philharmonic. And there are several different halls which are used for different purposes, from music performances to receptions and social events. What you can see down there on the picture, that's the biggest hall we have in there, and that's Dvořák's Hall. And the artist who is going to open the Czech presidency in Rudolfinum is pianist Tomáš Kačo. And his journey is a fabulous story of dreams coming true, from the self-taught musician to one of the best students in Berkeley College in Boston, and from, you know, coming from a small town in the Czech Republic to a fully booked Carnegie Hall. So I'm very, very happy and pleased that he is going to be the one who is going to open our presidency, because I think there is a lot of symbolism in there as well. And by the way, he was performing here 2 months ago in Chicago, and I attended it, and it was really very nice. So I'm very happy he is going to open it for us. Right, so that's the opening ceremony. But what happens if you want to attend the council meeting? Where are the council meetings going to take the place? The council meetings are going to take place in Prague Congress Center. Interestingly enough, when people make list of the most beautiful buildings, the Prague Congress Center seldom makes the list. Even though, in my point of view, the building has some hidden gems of art and some fair claims to history. The construction was built in the late 70s. It was called Palace of Culture at that time. And at that time, it was one of the, if not the largest building of this type in Europe. The building has 70 rooms and its total capacity is 9,300 people. And aside from using this venue for the meetings of the council, it was also chosen for security reason because according to police, it belongs to the places where the safety can be ensured most effectively. The origins of the building, why it was actually built, well, the origins are connected with it was supposed to host Communist Party meetings. And these political roots kind of made it unpopular with Czech Republic. And that was why the building was renamed in 1995 from the Palace of Culture to the Prague Congress Center. And it also regained its purpose. So it now serves the purposes for different musical performances and also venues for meetings and conferences. And musicians who have held their concert there, among them there are like Bruce Springsteen, Johnny Cash, or Beach Boys, Sting, and many others. And it's also because the acoustics in the building is very good. It's exceptional and it belongs to the best one in the world. I think an important thing about the building is that it has an atmosphere as well. And it keeps its decor from the 80s. You can see the furniture, it is original from the 80s. And this atmosphere kind of calls attention of many filmmakers, and it may be surprising for you, but this room you see on the picture right now is actually Schwarzenegger room. And that is because Schwarzenegger was there for an advertisement for one video game, right? And that's why the room holds his name. But what's even more, as a delegate attending a council meeting, you may end up in a room which is called Obama room. And this room holds its name based on a meeting between Barack Obama and Václav Havel, which took place in that room back into 2009, right? You see that picture below. So who would have guessed that you can find an Obama room in Prague? Okay, so these are the council meetings. They are going to take place in Prague Congress Center. But what happens if you are head of state or head of government and you are attending the summit of the European Council? Do you remember the very first institution I talked about at the beginning of my presentation? Well, then you are going to the Prague Castle because the summit of the European Council is going to take place there. Prague Castle is a complex in Prague which was built in the 9th century, and it's the seat of the President of the Czech Republic. According to the Guinness Book of Records, it's the largest ancient castle in the world, occupying an area of 750,000 square feet. The castle is obviously one of the most visited attraction in Prague, and back in 2019 over 8.5 million visitors visited the complex. And the summits of the heads of states and governments is going to take place in a Spanish hall, which you can see down there on the picture. The topic for the summit hasn't been chosen yet, but the Czech Republic as the presiding country is going to suggest it. All right. And that brings me to my last two slides. For the presidency, each country holding the presidency always needs to prepare various diplomatic gifts for the dignitaries that are attending the meetings. And these diplomatic gifts are either symbolic or somehow connected with the country. And for the Czech presidency 2022, a Czech traditional company, Rikl, is going to deliver the protocol and diplomatic gifts, which are going to be made of crystal glass. And the diplomatic gifts are going to be produced and designed by the art director of the company and one of the leading product designer in the Czech Republic we have, which is Ronek Plesl. You can see him on that picture. And he designed a unique collection of blown and hand-cut crystal, which is called Europe for the presidency. How the things are going to look like hasn't been disclosed yet. It's a secret. It's going to be a surprise. So the pictures you can see there are just like illustrative, you know, just to get an idea. And again, it's not an accident because the Czech Republic has a long history in glass crafting and glass blowing. And Rikl is a traditional company. Its history traces back to 1846. And it's one of the leading companies we have in the Czech Republic, which tries to combine the heritage on one hand and also modern design on the other. And by the way, a glass from them is also owned by the British Queen Elizabeth II. So we are all curious how the collection for the presidency is going to look like. Right. And finally, another symbol that the Czech presidency may eventually use for this special occasion are actually socks. And even though this may seem mundane on surface, there is a very deep meaning to it, and that's undeniably associated with our first president I mentioned earlier, Václav Havel. You can see him on the picture. The picture was taken on a day of his inauguration back in 1989. And on that day, he supposedly had short trousers. You can see that on the picture, right? The short trousers, and you can see also the socks. And even though he would probably argue, or he has always claimed that the trousers weren't short, that he only pulled them way up too high, it kind of became a symbol and a way of memory. And that's why socks may actually become an unorthodox way of or symbol for the Czech presidency, which may be also used. And on that note, the US Embassy in the Czech Republic, remembering this very unique association, made video in 2016, and you can actually watch it now with me. I hope it's going to work. Let's have a look. Let's give it a try. Can you see it?
This year, the U.S. Embassy staff again joins in marking Václav Havel Day. We honor the legacy of Václav Havel by remembering his words, which express the values that unite Americans and Czechs.
Naděje je stav ducha, který dává smysl našemu životu. Lhostejnost k druhým a lhostejnost k osudu celku je přesně tím, co otevírá dveře zlu.
Záchrana tohoto lidského světa není nikde jinde než v lidském srdci, lidském rozmyslu, lidské pokoře a lidské odpovědnosti.
Usilujte o to, co je dobré, nikoli jen o to, co má šanci na úspěch.
Porozumět se neznamená přizpůsobit se jedním druhým, ale pochopit navzájem svou identitu.
All right. Okay. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and either now or via email. Thank you very much. And Prague is handing the stage over to Chicago.
Thank you so much, Monika. Thank you for the presentation and for walking us as if we were delegates. That was really exciting. I'm Kaidi Gilad. I'm a program manager with Chicago Sister Cities, and I invite you to ask any questions you may have for Monika using the Q&A function. And to get us started, we do have a question, and the question is, what are the Czech Republic's priorities for the presidency?
Okay, thank you for that question. It's a very good question, but the priorities aren't out yet. The priorities aren't out yet, and it's for a reason. You always present the priorities right before the presidency, so they are going to be out in June 2022, maybe late May, because we do not want to in any way influence the presidency that are currently running. So that's why. Thank you for that question. It's a good one. But we are hoping we can well, our priority is to be able to organize the meetings well. That's what I can say for sure.
Thank you, Monika. And you said you held the Czech Republic held the presidency one time before. Could you tell us about their priorities then? Just so that when they come out in June.
Right. So there were like three E's, economy, energy, and European Union in the world. Those were like three E's priorities. And back then our motto was Europe without barriers, which was, it has many meanings actually, because we have common market in the European Union, which means free movement of people, services, goods, and capital. So it's moving without barriers, but also barriers in the sense of overcoming the stereotypes we may have in the European Union. Right.
Wonderful, thank you. If anyone else has any questions, please. We do have another question, and it says, you said that the ministers gather in the Council of the EU. Which of the ministers actually attend these meetings, or are these ministers of foreign affairs?
That's a very good question, because in the Council of the European Union, it's not a stable body, so to say. So let's put it this way. There are always the ministers that are responsible for the agenda, which is going to be discussed, right? So just imagine you have, there is going to be some agriculture topic discussed. So obviously is the Minister of Agriculture who is going to attend that meeting, right? Well, we in Europe, we call them ministers, but I think you would say Secretary of State, right? Secretary of State. But from the Czech point of view, it's the Minister for Agriculture who's going to attend that meeting. If it's going to be a topic for like justice, it's going to be the Minister of Justice who is going to attend. So it always depends on the agenda, and there are altogether 10 different council configurations that can take place.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. As you said, it is a complex body, so this is very helpful to understand it better.
It is. And maybe I would only add that as a presiding country, we are going to chair all the meetings in the council except of one, and that's the Council of Foreign Affairs. And this is going to be chaired always by the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. Right. So that's the only exception.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. And is there anything that Prague and the Czech Republic is really excited about regarding this opportunity, besides, of course, being able to be in the spotlight and be able to drive some of the goals of the European Union? What is it that they're most excited about, do you think?
I think in general, it's a big thing also from the cultural point of view. You know, many tourists are coming, there are different cultural things and events taking place. And well, we don't know how's it going to look like with COVID. You know, it's going to be maybe limited, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. And there is always a wide range of activities you can enjoy during the presidency. And it's also a good opportunity to share your culture and your heritage as well. So that's probably what the people are very excited about.
Thank you. And I know you had mentioned this. I'm sorry, there's multiple questions coming up, so I'm trying to get to them. Do you know if the effects of Brexit will be discussed officially? Is that something that you think will come up or has been discussed?
Brexit is a big thing. I think we are sad Brexit happened. We are sad Brexit happened. It's on the agenda in general because we need to work on our relations. That's for sure.
Thank you. And we have another question regarding, I know you mentioned there's definitely many cultural events that will be taking place and meetings. Are there other public events with all of the delegates that take place versus just the meetings during this time?
No, there are also going to be different events. Many events are going to be organized by the ministry, by the ministries, right? So so let's put it this way. The main events are central organized by the Office of the Governments, but the ministries also join and organize different events that are in the scope of their agenda. So there are going to be different conferences organized, for example, by the Ministry of Industry and Trade, you know, focusing on cybersecurity, for example, and also investment security. So there are plenty of them, and this always depends on the ministry's priorities as well, what they want to focus on.
Okay, and I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So
Okay.
Last call if anyone has any final questions.
Okay.
But one of the, you mentioned the European Union and also a common market. Just if you could expand a little more on the European Union and the eurozone, that not being the same, because I think that can be a misconception that everyone belongs to the common market.
Thank you for that question, Carrie. Do not mix it up, the European Union and eurozone, because eurozone, if you are a member of eurozone, that means that you're a member of the EU and you have a euro currency at the same time, right? So eurozone, that equals only member states having the euro. And this is important to keep that in mind because we do have EU member states that do not have euro, right? Czech Republic doesn't have euro. We do have Czech crown. And we also have countries that are not members of the EU, but do have euro, right? And they have euro based on based on bilateral agreement, either bilateral agreement with the European Union, such as San Marino or Andorra, for example. And then you have countries that have euro and are also not members of the European Union, but they only unilaterally accept it, right? So eurozone only refers to EU members having euro currency. Yes.
Thank you. And I think that with that was our last question, and that will conclude this part of the presentation in the program. So I'm going to hand it over to Joe for some concluding remarks. But thank you so much for your time, Monika, and for joining us today.
Thank you, Carrie.
Monika, I would like to thank you for a very interesting presentation of your insights and highlights of the Czech Republic and the European Union presidency. You have the uncanny ability to tie together trade, politics, and diplomacy. And as you have pointed out, Prague has the ability to present functions in both a practical and elegant manner. Thank you so much for this presentation. And for those listening, I'd like to point out that Monika has another distinguishing factor in that she attended originally Gymnasium nad Aleí in Prague. And our Chicago, Prague sister city, has an exchange with Gymnasium nad Aleí. And so that's another factor that connects Chicago, the heart of the United States, to the heart of Europe. And with that, I would have to say that I am looking forward to getting in line for my tie, scarf, pen, and socks when the Czech Republic has the presidency of the European Union. I would also like to take this moment to thank three other people. Adrian Tungate has kept our committee, all of our committees together, and as a co-chair, along with the recently late Duke Dellin. Adrian, we really thank you for keeping, during the COVID virus, keeping the fire burning and coming out of COVID. Chaz McCulloch has been very generous with her time in making this production happen, along with Monika Bokšová. And Kaheri Aguilar, what great questions and answers and pulling it all together. So many, many thanks to all of you in making this Prague showcase happen. And now, Adrian, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for those very kind words. I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, the Prague Committee, and all of our sister city committees. Making the best of the pandemic, and the way that we can stay connected is through series like this, where we learn what's going on in our sister cities. So Monika, I echo Joe. This has been a really fascinating conversation. I think that we should resume it in June or maybe later in the year to learn what's going on with the presidency plans. I think it'll be exciting to see what you do. But I also second Joe that I think definitely as the heart of Europe and the heart of the US, we need that direct flight back. So hopefully that will resume or start off after the pandemic ends. I also want to be in line for the blown splash, and I think that we need a Chicago sock to go with the short trousers. I think that'd be a fun element. But thank you everybody in the audience for joining us as well. We appreciate you sharing your afternoon with us, and I hope that you have a good afternoon. We're also dropping a link in the chats if you'd like to join sister cities to hear more about these programs that we do to bring the rest of the world to Chicago. Please click on the link and see how you can volunteer with us and help bring Chicago to the world of Chicago. Thank you and have a great afternoon, everyone.